For over 5 years, we've uncovered countless historic treasures right here in Huntington Beach. Stories, artifacts, and of course, the incredible people who have shaped this city into what it is today. Now, as we kick off Season 7, our excitement is at an all-time high as we dive deeper to discover what other fascinating stories are waiting to be told. I'm Chris Epting, and this is Hidden Huntington Beach. Today, we're diving into the fascinating hidden history of some of Huntington Beach's most unique and historic surfboards. We begin at the home of local surf enthusiast and avid surfer Chris Byrne, who has generously opened his doors to us. This space is not just a home, it's as much a surfboard museum as it is a place to live. Throughout Chris's beautiful house, you'll find magnificent artistic boards on display, each crafted by some of today's most renowned artists. However, the crown jewel of this collection is undoubtedly a spectacular creation by one of the area's notable artists, Dave Hobrecht. Crafted just over a decade ago for the Surfboards on Parade charity series, this piece showcases none other than the legendary surfer Kelly Slater. Dave himself joins us to share the hidden history behind this remarkable surfboard. So sit back, relax, and prepare for a delightful exploration. You may just find yourself bored in the best way possible.
Well, Dave, first of all, thank you for joining me here today. It's a privilege. We met maybe a year or two ago at an art event in Fullerton, baseball related.
Right.
Today it's about surfing. And I, along with many at home, I'm sure, are big fans of your work.
Oh, thank you.
You know, we're in this amazing home today with all these different boards, but we're standing in front of one that I know when you walked in and saw it, you got a little emotional. You got, like, talk about what this is and why it matters.
Well, I love this project. This project was unbelievable. One, it went to a good cause. We're trying to eradicate skin cancer. We're trying to raise money for that. So right then and there, it starts off like as a perfect, project to work on. So what they did was they paired up different surf artists with different shapers. So, growing up in HB and, riding Channel Islands, getting paired up with Al Merrick was like dream perfect. So I got to have this board, and even better, this board actually, it was a board ridden by Kelly Slater. So it's actually his board.
Wow.
So when they dropped it off, I got to see it. They said, okay, here's what you got. And then we kind of started coming ideas of what we're going to do on it.
How did you start thinking about it? What was your original concept when you get this board belonging to Slater?
Well, the first thing they said, here's the weird thing. Under this, there's a signature from Kelly Slater right there. And they said paint on the other side because we have the signature on this side. But you know what the cool part about it is the other side, which we'll show in a little bit, still had his pad, his wax. This is a used board from him.
Used, right.
Game used. And you can't take that away and paint on it just for a signature. I felt like that was cooler than the signature.
It's a big call. But
it's a big call. And I don't know if they liked that call at the beginning, but I did it anyways, right? And I really love the thing. So what we wanted to do was, I'm like, okay, how do I show both sides of this board too? So there was a lot of different kind of ideas rolling around, and I just said, you know what, I'm gonna figure it out. We're gonna show both sides somehow. And so kind of that was the start.
All right, now when you talk about the other side of this board, we're gonna look at it in a minute.
Right.
But were you there the night at the event when this was auctioned off?
I was.
How did that feel to watch your work sort of be up there in front of everybody?
It was fun. It was like they ran such a great event. Scott Smith and Jody McKay, and what we did first was, and a couple of them are here, they would release each of the first, I think maybe 5 boards in an event in itself. So at the Shore Break Hotel in Huntington, we had our first reveal where a representative from Al Merrick was there.
I remember, yeah.
And we did this reveal, and that was fun. So it kind of pumped everybody up. And that was a great event in itself. They had great food, and people showed up to start to get excited for this final event. So when the final event came, that was exciting. It was exciting because it was a live auction.
This episode is about the hidden history of well-known boards. We're going to see some other ones later that are older and have some history.
Yeah.
This is different. These are art projects. They're still surfboards, but it's a chance to really, again, put an icon on a board like this in a way that's highly artistic and beautiful. Did Kelly get a chance to see this, do you know?
Yeah, you know what? That's a good question. I think so. I'm not for sure, but I think so.
If not, he
I know
needs
images
to.
too.
Yeah.
I know he saw something in images, but you know, the painting itself also is bringing it back to Huntington Beach too. So subtle pier reference in the background, right? Of course, U.S. Open reference here. So we had to throw HB in there as well. So
Nice,
you know, me
nice.
growing up and you know, being born and raised here, you know, we had to tie that in too. So it wasn't just about
another
art.
aspect too. You're local.
Yeah.
So for you, this had to be really special.
It was big, and I got to work on it with some friends too, Scotty Myrtle and Scott Smith. So collabing on it, I drove Scott Myrtle crazy on having him build this type of compound curved frame, because we wanted to, you know, of course, show the contours of the board too with the art. So in it itself was really fun. So not only did I get to work with some guys from HB that I grew up with, we got to raise money for skin cancer, an event, and be in HB. It was pretty special.
All right, why don't we turn around the board now
Sure.
and see what we're talking about? All right.
All right, here we go. Ready?
Yep.
We put it on some casters underneath this base. And then what's cool about this, there's a couple of progress pictures and then a couple of different things that we did. So
what are we
basically,
looking at? Break this down for us.
okay, so basically what we did, here's Scott building the frame here, right? Little name recognition here. This is just kind of a progress image where it shows the board. You know, I painted the outside first before I painted the board separate, which is right here, and then kind of slid it in. We made this because we didn't know if whoever bought it wanted to take it out or not. These are some of the places that, you know, the sponsorships and Al and all that kind of stuff. This was the part I was talking about.
Wow.
That's the cool part. Like, how
This is
could
like
you,
an Otani bat.
It
So,
is.
I mean, it really.
It actually is, because, you know, Kelly's that guy in
Yeah,
surf,
totally,
right?
totally.
So how was I gonna scrape off his wax, his pad, and in my viewpoint, ruin this thing, right? So it's kind of like polishing up an old antique. You gotta just leave it as is. So this thing here, I thought was,
Well, that's
I
the
thought it was
history,
great.
right?
That's history.
The history to it.
Yeah, so that's why I ended up covering up the other side and painting the other side. So yeah, that's what we wanted to do. Look, we've got an Al Merrick signature down there. We just got to add Kelly back since I ruined the other one.
That'll happen. Maybe
Yeah, hopefully that'll happen.
This may prompt that, but again, the presentation of it is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, we're
It
proud
really
of
is.
it.
It allows you to enjoy both sides of it,
Yeah.
depending on your mood or what you want to look at.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You could display this side because this is just as beautiful. This is just a piece of art too. This is a shape, with hand-built shape. Great board. So I personally think this is a piece of art this side too.
Amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, Dave, listen, as a local who's done this, I know you're in Laguna now, right? Where your
Yeah.
gallery is, you do a lot
Yeah.
of your work, and people, I'm sure, will be checking out more of your stuff here. But thank you for walking us through this board.
No,
It's
thanks for having me.
I mean, this is hidden history right here, but it really is, and it lives among all these other boards here. Again,
I know, this is a crazy place.
You're
It
gonna
has
see
great
on,
stuff.
But really, this family of boards hanging
Yeah.
on top of us, on the side of us, it really is like an unofficial surf museum.
Right, it is. It's amazing artwork, lots of different styles in here.
But there's nothing like this. This really feels like, of all the incredible boards here, this does kind of stand out a bit. So.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, I kind of wanted to roll this out and put it in my van.
Well, Matt,
take
you
that
stop
out.
rolling. We're gonna make a quick trip, and we'll get to our next piece now. But thanks a lot, man. I really
All right,
appreciate it.
thank you.
Our Hidden History surfboard adventure continues at the International Surfing Museum downtown. Museum Director PT eagerly awaited our arrival, ready to guide us through the intriguing stories behind some of the museum's most significant boards, with his passion for surfing history, revealing the rich legacy they represent.
Well, PT, thanks for joining us. We've done a little bit of this before, but I didn't wear a pink shirt last time. This is in your honor. Where's yours as an homage to your color? But today it's all about the hidden history of surfboards, which we haven't talked a lot about in this show. So using your expertise, we're here at the International Surfing Museum, obviously. Let's talk about what you consider to be the most historic pieces that really convey the hidden history of surfboards.
Well, we have to start, of course, with the replica of the George Freeth board that in, 1914 he came down on Henry Huntington's red train and he rode this out here at the pier.
And introduced surfing,
right,
basically.
That motivated Belshie and Higgins to go down and see Duke Kahanamoku down at Corona del Mar. and they came back and made the first surfboards in Huntington Beach, and were Huntington Beach's first surfers. Yeah, so made after George Freeth and Belshie and Higgins went down to Corona del Mar to see the Duke would have been riding something like this, and you're talking about solid redwood.
What would that weigh?
100 pounds, you know, like you see how they carry them over their shoulder because they're so heavy you couldn't put it under the arm and
now,
carry
you've
it.
never ridden anything like this, right?
No, mate, that's it might hit you in the head and knock you out, you know, like, so that was incredible because that was the 20s. And then the next big phase was, of course, moving on to wood boards that were hollow.
You know, in terms of history of surfboards, it just strikes me that I don't think there's any other sport where the weight of things has changed. For instance, like in baseball, there was never, you know, a 100-pound bat or a tennis racket, you know what I mean? But this really, as we're going to kind of walk through the evolution of historic boards, the weight really had a lot to do.
Well, yeah, today, the best surfers in the world, they're like, we just had the US Open, right, with Kanoa Igarashi out there, you know, number 3 in the world. He's riding a board that weighs 6 pounds.
PT, let's get some more hidden history of boards here at the museum.
Yeah, so after we go to that phase, a guy called Tom Blake begins to make hollow wood boards, which was a huge phase in the development of the people being able to surf, and of course it's a whole much lighter than, you know, you get at the
so a
beach.
hollow board, what would this weigh about?
Probably 30, 40 pounds.
So significant, a little more than half.
And you know, he patented the whole construction of the thing. And this is a really good example, by the way, that was donated to us. Oh. And you can hear the hollowness of it right there. And so that was the next big phase in the development of surfboards.
If you know, what strikes me hollow, in terms of leakage, would that be like how?
Yeah, well, that's why if you look closely, you can see there's a plug. Okay. Because what would happen is water would get through and seep in.
It would have to.
It wouldn't sink it, but by the end of your session, you need to bring it in and take the plug out and stand it upwards so it would drain. I mean, that's what they used to do. You had to drain your surfboard after a session.
What else we got?
Well, over here, then the big significant, we went from here to balsa and then to fiberglass, and that was in the late 50s.
Now this is a famous board of sorts, right?
Yeah, well, this is a board shaped by Mike Hinson, one of the 2 stars of Endless Summer, and it's pretty similar to the one that he rode. Really interesting woodwork, which we don't even see today. Look at these beautiful 3-stringer redwood stringers in the board, you know, and that's something we just don't even see today. And these boards were still relatively heavy. I mean, you're talking they were like you know, 20, 30 pounds, you know, like. And then of course we went straight into the shortboard revolution, and that happened in the late 60s. All of a sudden the boards went from, you know, basically a 9-foot surfboard, we went down to a David Nueva model. All of a sudden, you know, that was 6 feet, 7 feet, somewhere in that range, and that was the huge change. But more interesting or not, I think one of the great things that happened in that same window of time in the early 70s, Tom Morey invented the boogie board. And the boogie board changed everything from point of view. Everyone...
What did that do? Describe a little bit in terms of culturally what that allowed.
What it allowed everyone, Joe Average, kids, could catch a wave for the first times in their life. And that really did change everything. Now, because people go, oh, that's not surfing. Yes, it is. Riding a wave is surfing. Sure. That's the thing. And so this opened the door.
That's my version of surfing, what you're describing. But in terms of like when these boards were first invented, is this like an early version, do you think?
No, if you go back and look at the photos of the early ones, he actually had the foam, and he actually put newspaper on it. There's a great image of that. The first one was actually water sealed with newspaper.
Oh my God! But totally revolutionizes the experience for everybody.
It opened it up to everybody in the world could catch a wave. That was the most important thing. It revolutionized surf culture in that aspect.
PT, in terms of hidden history, talk about this board because there's a lot going on here. You see that logo, plastic fantastic, takes a lot of people back, but it's attached to somebody very near and dear to the city.
Well, this was one of the Shortboard Revolution brands that is still around today, and it was right here in Huntington Beach on Main Street. But this board's super important because it's Rock and Fig's personal board, one of them. And of course, he started out, you know, being a salesman at Plastic Fantastic with Robert Highsmith back in the day. So this is, from a local point of view, as special as it gets.
Really amazing. All right, what else? Give us some more hidden history here. This is incredible.
I'll show you over here, because what we have over here is the locals wall. You have the brands of Huntington Beach. You start
Take us through. Who do we have?
You start
here?
with Jack Haley, the first champion in '59, right? It opened the restaurant that's still here today, right? Captain Jack's. You can go there and get some really good lobsters, I think, still. You got Rich Harbour that was up Seal Beach, right, in the late 50s. Went to Huntington Beach High School.
Wow.
You have the legendary Chuck Dent, right? All the stories about Chuck Dent on Main Street. He had the Chuck Dent Surf Centre, and at one point he opened the Bronzed Aussies surf shop up next to the Terry's Coffee Shop. Everyone remember Terry's Coffee Shop? Of course, we have Robert August, Mike Hinson's mate,
right.
in the endless summer. And then another famous brand, Hawk, Sam Hawk. The Hawk boys grew up here and went off, and today is a revered brand, you know. And of course, the Greek. We got the Greek, the one and only Greek, still with us and still making boards, right? So this is local corner of surf culture in Huntington Beach, Main Street. I mean, every one of these companies has had a surf shop, except for Harbour, of course, on Main Street at some point in time.
So, PT, how have things changed? I mean, this locals wall is incredible. It goes back a number of years. Since these guys first started out, what have you noticed in terms of the local surf culture and the business evolving?
Well, you know, when I first got here in the 70s, Main Street was 10, maybe more surf shops.
Right.
I mean, you had all these guys, except for Harbour, of course, because he was in Seal Beach, but he had all these guys with shops, with the Rock and Figs, selling your surfboards. Mike Downey's another one, was selling surfboards. David Nueva was a salesman at that point in time. And that's where it's really changed, because we have hardly any of those little surf shops left. What we do have is the Times Square of surfing down on the PCH and Main Street.
Right
you got the surf and sport guys, Huntington Surf and Sport on one side, you have Jack's on the other. They're the supermarkets of surf culture today, and there's nowhere in the world where as much surf retail business gets done as the Times Square of Huntington Beach.
PT, we're going to see one other board being brought in a little while, but before we wrap up right here, I saw a board this morning that you wrote in a 1978 film called Big Wednesday. What do you remember about that? Because it was a thrill to see a bit of the film and the board right there next to it, which is in a resident's house here in Huntington Beach. What's a memory or two of yours from the film?
Well, that film changed my life, because I was #1 in the world, had just finished the quarterfinals of the Stubbies contest in Australia, and I got a call from Greg McGilvery about coming over to America to make the film Big Wednesday, and they were going to pay me $1,000 a week. It was a whole lot more money than we were making being pro surfers, and I told everybody, I'm going to go to California and do this movie. You can't do that. You're #1 in the world. You can't just drop off the tour. And I said, I'm going to Hollywood. And then these boards that were somewhat replica of what that era was, because if you follow the movie was centered on the 60s, transitioning into the 70s.
Right.
So it was part of the story we were just talking about, where it went from the longboard and went to the shortboard. And so it covered that. And so we had to act like we were still in the 60s going into the 70s. And so the boards were, they looked like longboards, but they had modern board influence in them. And the one that you saw this morning is the most famous of them, because that's the one I wrote in the sequence called Jack's Lonesome Ride. He's got his draft notice and he's going to Vietnam, and this is his last surf. And he might not come back. He might die in Nam. And so that board's pretty significant.
Great that it still exists. It was a thrill to see.
It's unbelievable that it still exists. And the story of how it still exists is even more incredible.
Well, we're going to save. Let's got to hold a little hidden history for people. Let's next we're going to get into this other board that's just about arriving now. So let's check this out.
As we were concluding our discussion, Bushman Orozco made an unexpected appearance with a surprise, a classical board designed by PT nearly 50 years ago.
Well, for the last piece of the Surfboard Hidden History, Bushman, thanks for joining us.
No worries.
You raced over here with another piece of history. Guys, tell us about what makes this special and what the hidden history is.
Well, Bush, he's a collector, and he went, have you got any boards you want to get rid of?
No. No.
And I don't have actually many of the boards from my era, and this is a special one because if you read what it says here, hand-shaped tube shooters by Peter Townend. And this was my dolphin logo that my uncle had designed this logo back in 72.
So what year is this board?
This board would have been made as a tribute. As you notice, it's a Stinger design, which was Ben Iper's design. It's the first Stinger that I made, and it would have been mid-70s. It would be 75, somewhere around 75.
What do you think of this board, Bush?
Well, when I saw it and I had the opportunity to get it in my possession, I jumped right on it. And I'm not even telling you what I paid for it, but I promised him.
I made you a deal.
Yeah, I know you made me a deal, but I promised you it's never going to leave my collection. It's going to stay in my collection.
Of your collection, is this your favorite, would you say?
Oh, yeah, because look who PT, as a kid, growing up, I was idolizing him, watching him in the movies, the Surf Theater.
That's great history there.
And plus, this glass job, it's called a marble glass job. This special technique that you do for glassing, and you mix the resins in different buckets, and then you pour it on, and it gives you this marble.
It's
thing.
like with vinyl sometimes.
You know, this is hippie stuff in the 70s.
It was way ahead of its time.
How many of these boards exist today that you made?
Not a lot of my boards, you know, you would be hard pressed to find another Stinger with my logo on it, but they did Gordon and Smith. These were made at Gordon and Smith, Australia, in Cronulla, and of course I had PT models, and so there's probably one or two still existing in the world, but not many Stingers.
And you signed it to Bushman?
Oh, of course I signed it to
Very
the
nice. Well, listen, this is, again, what a great way to... I love the fact that you watched him at the Surf Theater, because the Surf Theater letters are still here somewhere, right?
Right up front, mate.
Right up front. So you can come to the museum and see those. You were in that theater that had that sign, watching this guy back in the 70s, and here we are today.
We become the friends we are now. I mean, it's every kid's dream, you know?
Well, that's some of the best HB history I think we can tap into. So thank you guys. Thanks for this amazing board. PT, thanks for the tour earlier.
Absolutely, mate. Anytime.
Great Hidden Huntington Beach episode.